So we're talking about gas bottles and what is the best size to use for your tiny house. Why do you need a gas bottle? Well, it's a source of fuel. Most cases they're hooked to a calefont that will heat your hot water and heat your oven and your cooktop. They work well in tiny homes because they reduce that electricity draw, which means you can still have a 16 amp plug to run the other things in your house, example fridge, charging things, kitchen points, etc. So we've used all three of these common and slightly uncommon sizes here in New Zealand. The first one is a common 9 kilo one, often used for barbecues. The beauty of this is it's easy to carry and you can get them filled up at a gas station easily. They also do swapper bottles, so you can take your empty bottle into a retailer or fuel station and switch it over for a full one, and you don't need to worry about the safety inspection on these. So they've usually got, I don't know, they last for a number of years, and once it elapses you've got to get them rechecked to make sure that they're safe. So that's a good little trick actually, is if your one has expired you can just switch it, so you don't need to carry out that inspection and go through that palaver of trying to find a place and going there, dropping it off and picking it up and whatnot. These costed, this is really rough, and it's at about this time, about $35 if you fill it up at the gas station, $40-ish for a swapper bottle for that convenience. At a fuel station it might take 5 minutes to get that filled, depending on the volume of people waiting. Now one of the negatives with these, now I'm not 100% sure on the actual science, and I'm pretty sure we've experienced this, is they don't vaporize so well. So they get to the point, especially if they get too cold, that they don't actually ignite the calefont anymore. So what we did with our ones, which we'd already done anyway, but at one stage I did have them sitting outside on the ground in the cold, is put them raised up in a contained area, which can help. But if you're in a colder part of the world, that could be more of a problem. I know a number of gas fitters have told me that as well, that these ones just don't really quite work as well. So if you are having issues, it might be because you're using the 9 kilo bottle. The next one we jump up to is an 18 kilo or thereabouts. These are not so common at all. It took me a while to find a good sort of these old school built ones. I have seen a few newer ones around, but they look pretty cheap. So the beauty of these is, relative to these ones, is they're like double the size, so you don't need to whip into town or swap your bottles so regularly. They're a little bit harder to handle, but that one's not full. But they're still manageable. I can throw them in the back of the ute without too much issue. So if you've got two of those side by side, they do last a lot longer. How long do they last? And it depends totally on what you're using them for. We'd probably get a month or two out of something like that, and if you do the maths, well, it should be about half the time out of that roughly. So you can't do a swapper bottle on these ones. These you have to go to the fuel station and refuel. Now I've sort of live and learn, like going to the fuel station and getting them filled up is actually a bit of a pain in the bum. You get there and there's a few people around and the guy's not there, he's gone on his lunch break, so you've got to come back and you've got to put the bottle in the car and you've got to stop the bottle from smashing around in the back of the ute, or are you putting it in your car, is that safe? Like, yeah, you got to lift it on and off, then you've got to re-hook it on. I mean, it's all doable, but it is a bit of a pain once you've done it a number of times. And I got a little bit over that, to be honest. So your next option is 45 kilo ones. Now I think you can find one of these and buy it yourself and go and refill it, but man, that's a pretty heavy unit to be going and doing that with. These ones are more set up so you usually pay a service charge. We do anyway with this particular company, a year, it's about $100 or so, and the bottles cost to refill are 120 or something. I have seen on websites where it's a bottle, you only pay per bottle around 140 sort of dollars. Actually works out quite good. I'll show you some stats in a minute. Now the good thing with these is the company, they've got pretty good systems. You just go reorder a bottle on an app, on an email, whatever, and they basically just turn up within a few days and they switch it over. You don't have to worry about anything, you just pay them the bill. And these bottles, obviously 45 kilos, last a lot longer than these other two that we talked about, so you're not switching the bottles and just having that another thing to be thinking about, has it switched over. We've always got these running in tandem, so when one runs out it flicks over to the other one, so you're not ending up on a freezing cold morning halfway through your shower and your gas runs out, your hot water stops. So always on a switch over valve. You don't have to, but... And also with these is obviously the company, they sort out the safety inspections and stuff like that, so there's no problem with those. But yeah, we found convenience wise, cost wise, the vaporizing side of things, obviously no issue for that. The Califonts are set up for these bigger bottles, that everything just works seamlessly. So if I was going to do another tiny house today, I would use these straight away, to be honest. And with the costs, as you can see up here now, they work out, well, I've found out anyway in my situation that they work out to be cheaper and also easier. So 45 kilo.